I want to take a look at Bitcoin. So the next big story we're covering is the pump and dump. I'm calling it a pump and dump, guys, because there is no way that someone didn't buy Bitcoin, then somehow release this fake news and make money on it. I'm just being honest with you. This stuff doesn't just materialize out of thin air with no one having some ulterior motive. Now, Cointelegraph is the one that broke this. I don't know, and again, it broke the fake news, so it's whatever it is. But obviously, this is, and I'm just going to be flat honest. If you go on crypto Twitter, X Twitter, whatever you talk about, there is a lot of animosity towards the SEC and Gary Gensler. And listen, I can understand that. The crypto space wants the freedom. They don't want to be hampered. They don't know the rules to the game of crypto, like what is a security, what's not, what's this, what's that. But at the same time, when you see a move yesterday like this, and it turns out to be caused by news that the fake news, and let me say this again, fake news that basically the Bitcoin ETF, the spot ETF, was approved, this is honestly kind of why you need the SEC. You need regulation here. You need to have things in alignment. There needs to be an investigation by the SEC into this to find out who was placing big bets on Bitcoin. And remember, when you're in the crypto markets, you can use like 100x leverage. So you can literally put a very little money up, and if you get the move to go in your direction, you can make millions of dollars off of a very small amount of money. Essentially gambling, but not in this case, because you were, or whoever this was going to filter this news through, or fake news, and get it to pop. Now, what's fascinating about this, and that I'm going to digress from that side of things. And again, bottom line, I will say this, yes, the crypto markets need the SEC, or you need some regulatory body that is monitoring, the crazy house, essentially. All right, so when we look at this chart, though, if we remember yesterday, and this is fascinating, what was my bias yesterday in the game plan? What was the chart telling us? Well, remember we had this right here. We broke below it, but we stayed above this trend line, right? We had this trend line all the way up here, all the way up to these levels, and all the way up there. And what I said to you, especially as we were starting to move back up, and at that point yesterday, we were probably getting back, I think we were back in that range, is that even when we were down here, you still had a positive bias, a neutral to positive bias. Once you recapture here, you then have a positive bias for a target of at least 29,000. Well, what we saw in Bitcoin yesterday is it went to 30,000. Now, it did reverse, and it did come back down, but the point is, again, is that weirdly enough, the chart kind of was telling us that there was still a positive bias on Bitcoin and to expect a move up. I didn't know this move was going to come. Obviously, I would have made a lot of money if I did, but nonetheless, that was an amazing move yesterday. And listen, the spot ETF is going to get approved. But going back to the whole discussion before, the question you have to ask ourselves is, when this happens, when fake news causes, on a $500 billion asset, a move of 7 to 8% in minutes, is it going to push the SEC to approve a spot ETF? Is it going to convince more people to join in and start investing in crypto? Or is it going to hurt crypto? And that's the sad part about this. This was someone out there, and again, I'm not pretending to know who, but this was someone out there that for a gain for themselves ultimately hurt the crypto markets. Because again, if you're a grandma and you're looking at this and you hear about fake news and you see this whip, are you going to be like, oh yeah, let me go open a crypto account? No, you're not. You're going to be like, holy cow, this is shady. Let me stay away. And the same thing with the SEC. Now, do I think that ETF, spot ETF, is going to get approved? Yes, eventually it will. But it certainly doesn't help getting it approved sooner. I will say that.
Alessandro Ottaviani's striking prediction is making waves. Ottaviani estimates that Bitcoin's total market cap could soar past $15 trillion and Bitcoin's price could reach over $1 million if the SEC finally approves a Bitcoin ETF. Ottaviani's reasoning is based on the massive $50 billion surge in Bitcoin's market cap following a fake news scare on October 16. If a similar ratio holds and with other expert estimates, Bitcoin could potentially receive hundreds of billions within the next 3 years. With Bitcoin's price remaining robust and technical analysis indicating a bullish breakout, it's worth keeping an eye on this potentially remarkable growth. Wall Street and traditional finance are showing increasing interest in cryptocurrencies. The $7 trillion ETF industry is eager to get into the cryptocurrency game through Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. Major players like BlackRock, Fidelity, and WisdomTree have submitted applications for their own Bitcoin ETFs. To address regulatory concerns, BlackRock is proposing surveillance sharing agreements. While futures-backed Bitcoin ETFs have received SEC approval, spot Bitcoin ETFs are still uncertain territory. Canada has already introduced its purpose Bitcoin ETF, and investment trusts are keen to join in. The SEC's stance and these developments are crucial for the cryptocurrency market's future. Recent news suggests a turning point for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, could be on the cusp of a significant breakthrough. The SEC decided not to appeal a court ruling regarding Grayscale's ETF application, potentially clearing the way for approval. If this happens, institutional money could flood into GBTC, narrowing the discount to NAV. However, it's important to note that an ETF approval could impact Bitcoin's future catalysts. A new chapter in the cryptocurrency world may be on the horizon. And there you have it, the latest and most intriguing stories in the world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Keep an eye on these developments. They could reshape the market as we know it. Let's continue our enlightening discussion with Gareth Soloway.
I just want to showcase a couple other charts. All right, so quickly, the gold chart. Let's take a look at what gold is doing here. Daily chart, we're getting a little bit of a bounce. Let's bring up that right now. So small bounce. I know it's hard to see here. What I want to show you is the bigger time frame on gold as well. All right, so again, here's your bigger time frame on gold. Now, gold has had an amazing run. This is your 1970s down here, right? So this is your 1970s move. Now, what I always like to showcase is that essentially you're repeating that 1970s period. All right, so here we had this mega move up in the 1970s into the 1980s after a lot of consolidation right here. All right, here you had this initial move up, all right, move down, move up, and then all this consolidation. To me, this looks like a cup and handle pattern. I talked about it yesterday. But a lot of people, when they look at these charts, and when you look at the gold chart, and if I zoom in on this monthly chart to the current period, right? So if we zoom in here, what we can see is that while people were freaking out just on this monthly move a few days ago, right? I mean, last week, in essence, what is the bigger time frame showing? This is the monthly gold chart. And the monthly gold chart, to me, clearly shows a move up and then a lot of consolidation. Again, here's your cup. And here's your handle pattern. And this pattern, again, folks, is a powerful pattern. Essentially, it's bullish consolidation, digesting the move that went from basically 1,100 all the way up to almost 2,100. And when you break out, like I told you guys yesterday, at least in 2024, I would say 2,400 to 2,500 on that chart. Over here we go. We see retail sales, right? Here's retail sales, core retail sales, which is like X auto. You basically expected forecast was 0.2%. We saw a 0.6% kind of increase right here. Now, the reason why that is so important is that is a hotter number than expected. And again, the reason why a hotter number than expected is not necessarily good is because it continues to keep the yields up and the dollar gaining strength. All right, so again, this was hotter than expected. Now, retail sales month over month, with including autos, forecast was 0.3%, came in at 0.7%. So again, much, 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 much hotter than expected. And both of these numbers, again, it makes it very, very hard to say, wow, the Fed can start cutting rates or the Fed can stop raising rates. Now, I will say this. I don't expect the Fed to continue to raise rates, but it does make it almost impossible for them to cut rates anytime soon.
That wraps up today's crypto news highlights. Stay tuned for more updates, insights, and analysis from the world of cryptocurrencies. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content.